So let's start with the next chapter on DC to DC converters. In this, we'll be talking about some basic principles required in understanding DC to DC converters, followed by some basic overview on types of applications. And then we are ready to go for some technical details of these DC to DC converters, such as different types of converters and what technology is involved behind designing these different types of converters, their advantages and disadvantages, and their applications. So we'll be covering up this chapter in about 3 lectures. Okay, to start with, let's talk about some basic principles. Okay, so what's the purpose of this DC to DC converter? Let's say we want to convert a battery voltage to some required voltage. Or in other words, let's say we have different voltage levels in one circuit, or in one design, we have different voltage levels. Small sub-circuits are there. So one sub-circuit works at 2.4 volts, another sub-circuit works at 3.3 volts, and other sub-circuit works at some other voltage level, and so on. So then there's the challenge. So these are the challenges. So how to accept this challenge and get rid of this? One is to just buy different batteries, different voltage levels, and then start connecting these batteries to run all these different sub-circuits which require different voltage levels. Another one is to design a circuit which can be an intermediate between the DC input, which is a battery, and the load, which is the DC output. So this intermediate circuit can help us to change the voltage levels from this DC input, which is battery. So just by using that circuit, we can vary the output voltage or load voltage, in other words, as per our requirement, as required. And this circuit is called DC to DC converter. So by inserting this DC to DC converter as an intermediate between the input, which is battery, and the output, which is load, we can actually minimize the number of batteries. So with one single battery also, we can generate different DC output levels as per our requirement. Another challenge: to convert that battery voltage to an optimal voltage. So let's say if one circuit needs to have 1.5 volts as well as 2.4 volts, both, depending upon its functionality. In next slides, I will explain in more detail. But we have a single battery. So now the purpose of DC to DC converter, which we have seen in the first point, is to have two different levels, 2.4 also and 1.5 also, and in between also. So based on our workload or functionality, the DC to DC converter is actually adjusting its DC output from 2.4 volts to 1.5 volts. So it has a kind of a dynamic range. It can work at 2.4 volts, it can give us 2.4 volts at the output, or 1.5 volts at the output, or any voltage level in between. What's the benefit? It will reduce power dissipation. It will improve the efficiency. We'll see that when we move forward. So now another challenge is, then what about the higher operating frequencies? Because if we have a circuit like DC to DC converter, will it operate at very high frequencies? Because maybe at very high frequencies, the cooling problems, heat sink problems may be there, the packaging problems may be there, or even circuit problems may be there, the functionality problems, due to high harmonic contents, and so on. Another challenge, higher level of integration. If we want to have an intelligent DC to DC converter, so making this circuit, intelligent circuit, require different set of components, may have some increase in size, and may demand a new technology or state-of-the-art or advanced technology. That is also kind of challenge, that how to decrease the size if large number of components are there. So how to decrease the size? So that challenge is also there. So integration, how to do integration at that level so that the size gets reduced at using new technologies. Or is technology available for such kind of integration? That also we'll see as we move forward. But first of all, you need to understand the challenges for designing these converters. Then varying workload is another challenge. Like in a mobile phone, sometimes we are talking on the phone, sometimes we are gaming on the phone, sometimes we are watching movies on the phone, listening to music, and so on. So all these different features on the smartphone, then they are having different workloads. Some applications are small in nature, so the workload is low. Some applications like gaming, they need high computing power, so the workload is more. So with all these varying workloads, how to deal with design of the DC to DC converters? Because they may affect a simple design of DC to DC converter, by not considering the varying workload, can lower the performance and the efficiency of the device. Then battery life. If we use battery at the input of a DC to DC converter, how much battery will it consume? If it is consuming a large amount of battery, then it means it's not a good design. That's also kind of challenge, that the power consumption should be minimized so that the battery life increases. And then the cost, it should not be big in size or costly in material and so on. So these are the challenges which are not easy to design DC to DC converter, but still we'll start with some basics, and then we'll see that how these challenges can actually be overcome. So this I already discussed about, that this is a battery. We can directly, this battery can actually be running this DC to DC converter. It can also be used to run or to power these DC to DC converters, and as well as other components over here. So this single battery is used to power up all the devices over here. How it is possible? With the help of DC to DC converters. So that's the main purpose, so that the workload at the battery is optimized. So variable battery supply is kind of a waste of energy. So At 2.7 volts, if we have about 4.5 volt of batteries, and if we want to just use 2.7 volts, then 2.7 volts to 4.5 volts, the battery is there, but we are not using it. So it's a kind of a waste. That's why we want to go for DC to DC converters, that even 2 volt battery can be useful if we have a DC to DC converter at the intermediate level between load and the battery. So which can step up 2 volt battery voltage to 2.7 volt and then start to operate the devices. So this intermediate DC to DC converter is actually very useful and very much required, so that high batteries are kind of not required. High voltage batteries should be avoided. So DC-DC converter comes to the rescue of this waste of energy. So you need to remember these benefits of DC to DC converters as we proceed further. Then later on, when we dive into the technical details of DC to DC converters, then you will be able to relate it very easily. Okay, so what about power consumption and power dissipation? In digital circuits, power consumption is calculated by this: the frequency of operation, the clock frequency or so, capacitance, because the capacitive load needs to be switched every time. Whatever the logic gate is, it has some load capacitance, it has some capacitance involved. And every time we switch these gates on and off, these capacitances are charged and discharged. So depending upon the frequency of operation, these capacitances are actually charged and discharged. And then the voltage supply. How much voltage is used for the logic gates, for example? So let's say if logic 1 is 5 volts, logic 0 is 0 volts, let's say. Load this one, VDD is 5 equal to logic 1, VDD 0 is logic 0. So it means that this capacitance is being switched or charged or discharged with this much voltage at this much frequency, these many times. So it means consuming power. If we lower down the voltage over here, the supply voltage for the logic gate, we can save power. If we lower down the switching frequency, we can save power. If we lower down the capacitive value, means we design these logic gates elegantly that the load capacitances are minimized, then the power is saved. Plus some short circuit power, which depends on the logic gates while transitioning. How fast they can transition. So based on that, the short circuit power is calculated. And in analog circuits, simply the supply voltage multiplied by the current, the load current in the circuit, gives us the power consumed or power dissipated. And in practice, simply VDD multiplied by the probability of operation, probability of switching, let's say, that how much time this circuit will switch from 0 to 1 and vice versa. So what is the probability of that particular circuit? So some circuits have a higher probability, some circuits have lower probability, depending upon the application. Raised to the power 1 to 3. So here we know that the raised to power is 2. So that will give us the power dissipation of a device. These formulas you need to remember, because when we continue with the technical details of these DC to DC converters, these formulas are required to be used in numericals. Okay. Okay, this is one observation we can talk about, that in smartphones or in any mobile phone, this power amplifier is a kind of a very, you can say it is a power hungry device. It consumes a lot of power. And if One option is that you can connect it directly to the battery in the smartphone. So this power amplifier is connected directly to the battery in a smartphone. That is one option. And if we calculate the efficiency with this connection, with this circuit, we can see that, okay, as we go up the power consumption or output power, the efficiency keeps on increasing. And for lower power, the efficiency is low. Another option is that instead of directly connecting this power amplifier with the battery, why not have an intermediate DC to DC converter, which is used to connect this battery to the power amplifier. And then we have a control circuits and all this, which controls the operation of the DC to DC converter and the power amplifier. So in that case, if we do this, we can actually control the flow of power from battery, which is fixed. This is fixed. So we can actually control the flow of power to the power amplifier as per the requirement of the power amplifier. We'll see that later on. So it means, okay, in brief, I can say that if the workload here is small or is less, then DC to DC converter is tuned to supply less voltage over here or less power over here. If the workload demand is more over here, and based on the control circuit which sends command to this DC to DC converter, the power supply is increased depending upon the load requirements or the workload requirements over here. So it's a kind of an intelligent control. In that case, using this, we can actually save power and we can actually increase efficiency. This is how we can do that. So this was the efficiency curve when this power amplifier was directly connected to the battery. So just by using that DC to DC converter with control, some intelligent control, we can actually increase the efficiency at lower levels of loads also. So let's say when a smartphone is on standby, when we are directly connecting it to the battery is being consumed. But if we connect it through DC to DC converter, the losses are less compared to this. You can see the difference because efficiency is increased. So it means losses are decreased. So in standby, now wastage of battery is now not there. It's avoided. So the wastage is avoided at all levels of loads. Okay, so now we know that what is the purpose of inserting DC to DC converter in circuits or in devices. That it actually helps us in improving the efficiency and at the same time in improving the control. We can actually control as per our requirement. Okay. Again, the example of smartphone, we have varying workloads in smartphones. A reduced workload periods demand lower supply energy or voltage. And you know that if our smartphone is not doing anything, high voltage levels are not required. Let's say, for an example, if these electronic circuits like transistors, because all these electronic circuits, memories, registers, all these amplifiers, all these converters, they are actually designed using transistors underneath them. All these devices, all VLSI chips and all components on PCBs, they are actually designed using transistors, semiconductor devices, diodes, transistors, different types of transistors. So when they are sitting idle, very, very low workload is required. So they don't need to switch. They can stay in cutoff. So the power supply or the voltage supply required is very low. Ideally, it should be zero, as we know that, but practically very small voltage is required. So why not take advantage of that? So during those reduced workloads, these devices, they don't need that power supply or voltage supply at that level. So DC to DC converter is used over there to lower down the voltage levels close to zero or very low value. So in that way, we can save the power consumption, thereby we can save the battery life. And if we say that we want to run a very small application which is not very computationally extensive or not power hungry, then a low voltage levels are required, because speeding up is not required. So in that case also, the voltages can be lowered down by the DC to DC converters. And if the voltages are lowered down, the power calculation, if we use power formula, then power dissipation is lowered. And if power dissipation is lowered, efficiency is increased. So here also we can now understand DC to DC converter is very much useful. So now from previous slides and this slide, we can easily find out that DC to DC converter is quite helpful in doing a lot of things, just by changing the voltage levels from input to the output. Now again, the same thing is, just by using these conditions of varying workloads, this dynamic supply scaling, which is a technique used in DC to DC conversion, which we'll be studying when we do the technical details of power converters. But you have to remember that these supply scaling means when we are actually scaling the output voltages, means changing the levels, the voltage levels. We are actually scaling the voltage at the output. It can be done dynamically. Statically is that we have fixed the voltage output. Like input is 3.3 volts, output is 2.4 volts. That is fixed. We can do it dynamic scaling also. That not only one fixed value, but it can be scaled from 2.4 volts to 1.5 volts, as we did in first slide. So that dynamic scaling is very much useful in smartphones, in laptops, in all different types of devices, where we can scale the voltage levels from 2.4 to 1.5 volts dynamically. So let's say in 10 steps. In more intelligent, it can be discrete values can be much more, but let's say in 10 discrete levels, we can scale this output voltage, 2.4, 2.3, 2.2, and so on. That is called dynamic scaling. So just by a single DC to DC converter, we can do that. What's the benefit if we do dynamic scaling? It improves the efficiency by lowering down the power consumption or power dissipation. As per our requirement at the output, we fix the voltage by dynamic scaling depending upon the actual requirement at the load. And the load can be video movie can be a load, gaming can be a load, word processor on mobile phone can be a load, or checking your emails is also a load. So depending upon the load variations, these dynamic scaling of voltage at the output can be done, which actually will definitely help in saving the power. Power is not wasted now, because the exact required voltage is received at the load now. Okay, now application examples, let's say this is one, as I just mentioned earlier, that this is one example, intelligent DC to DC conversion. So in this voltage loop, which is marked over here, It has a performance sensor over here, which senses the performance, means based on the workload of this. Let's say this is a smartphone. So based on the workload, it senses that how much workload is required. Let's say if you're gaming, so more amount of computation is required, because games are always computationally very extensive. And it finds out the workload variations, a controller and a DC to DC converter for intelligent control. So this is a controller which gets the input from this sensor over here, which senses the workload requirements, sends it to the controller. Based on these inputs, the controller decides and then sends the signal to DC converter to scale the output voltage so that it can be sent to the circuit over here. If the workload requirement, so it monitors, first of all, let me tell you that it monitors the temperature also, workload variations, temperature and process. Process in the sense that due to temperature rising, the internal variation of a circuit happens. And you know, just by raising the temperature, the circuit behavior changes. Semiconductor behavior changes. So due to the temperature variation, the process variation happens. And due to the workload variations, the temperature variations happen. So they are all interrelated to each other. And the performance sensor senses all these variations and then sends signal to the controller, which then based on the input from the sensor decides and then sends it to the DC to DC converter. So what type of signal is this? Whether to step down the voltage or step up the voltage, lower the voltage or upgrade the voltage. And based on the inputs received from the controller, the DC converter changes the VDD supply required in the device. So a gaming circuit, let me give you an example. A gaming device, a gaming application over here, if it is being run, the performance sensor will sense that now most of the circuit is active now, because gaming is actually computationally extensive. So almost all the circuits are running at a full power or full load condition. So the sensor senses this full load condition or activity of all the circuits and then sends this signal to the controller that all the circuits are now running at full load. So increase the power. So I need increase in the power. The controller then decodes this message and then sends the decision over here to the DC to DC converter to increase the voltage by 0.5 volts, 0.6 volts, or so on. And then DC to DC converter will then update the scaling over here, increases the voltage as per the requirement and sends it to the circuit, which are actually running at the full load conditions. Similarly, for the low values of voltage is also the same loop will work. So how this DC to DC converter actually scales up or scales down the voltages, we'll see when we do the technical details of different types of converters. So these type of circuits are actually used in different applications, like smartphones, laptops, televisions, LED TVs, and all different types of applications. Another application, again smartphone. This is simply that how you can actually step down the voltage. So these two transistors are there. This is a PMOS transistor. This is NMOS. M1 is PMOS. M2 is a NMOS transistor. And when M1 is on, M2 is off. And we know that PMOS and NMOS are complementary to each other. So when M1 is on, M2 is off. And the same drive signal over here. So now when M1 is on, this node Vx is pulled high. It is now connected to this V battery. It is on, make short circuit, and now this Vx is connected to Vbat, assuming zero resistance on resistance over here. So due to this, when it is connected to this V battery, now you can say that this inductor is now getting charged with this V battery over here. This inductor starts to get energized and now going through the load and then to the ground. Now next, when M2 is on, this M1 is off. If M2 is now on, this Vx is now pulled down to the ground. So now this inductor, which was charged over here in the first place during M1 on, now is discharged through this load. So charging and discharging of the inductor will help us to flow the current through the load, as we have done in AC to DC converters. Technical details will follow later on, but at this moment, just how these DC to DC converters are actually helpful in applications. So just by using these two switches over here, we can actually step up or step down the voltage at the load. If M1 is, which is based on the amount of energy stored in inductor. If M1, and then if it is on for longer duration of time, only a small energy will be thrown over here. So less voltage will be received over here. So just by changing this is called duty cycle. Just by changing the on time and off time of these transistors, we can change the voltage levels. Okay, details will follow when we do that, but just simple application you have to remember. Just by changing the time, turning on and turning off of these transistors, we can change the voltage level. So this is the basic essence of DC to DC converter. Another example, in a small implantable devices like a pacemaker or so. For example, a pacemaker. So these implantable devices, they also use DC to DC converters, not only one in number, several. And inside this power management unit, some DC to DC converters are actually doing their work. All these devices inside this pacemaker, they have different voltage requirements. This device, simple device inside that pacemaker need, let's say 1 volt of supply. This one need 1.5. This one also 1.5. This one need 1 to 1.5. A range of voltages only in this block also. So here in this block, we need dynamic scaling, 1 to 1.5. Here also 1 volt, 1 volt, 1 volt, and here also 1 to 1.5 volts, and so on. So different DC to DC converters, depending upon the requirement, can be built on inside the implantable device. And they are actually supplying the voltages to different blocks over here, based on their requirement. Some are supplying the fixed voltage, like in this case, let's say 1 volt fixed. And some are supplying the dynamic scaling of the voltage, 1 to 1.5, which can be changed dynamically based on the requirement. And we have a controller which is actually connected to all the devices inside and taking some signals from all the devices. So these performance sensors inside all these actually send signals that the workload requirement is changing. And based on the workload requirement, the controller decides whether to step up or step down the voltage, whether to scale up or scale down the voltage, and then sends that signal to the DC to DC converter, which actually then decides to step up or step down, which is based on the switching. So if the controller sends that the voltage should be scaled up, then this DC to DC converter will increase the turn on time of M1 transistor, as we saw in the previous slide. And if the controller sends the signal to scale down the voltage, then the DC to DC converter will make the turn on time of M2 for a longer period. So depending upon the workload requirement from this, the DC to DC converter scales up or scales down the voltage. And how it does, that's the part of the different types of techniques used in DC to DC converters. So in very small devices which are actually implanted in heart, DC to DC converters, they find their application in there also. In smartphones itself, you have dozens of DC to DC converter circuits inside that. So now I think you have understood the, you can say, the usefulness of DC to DC converters. They're working, not they're working, but their basic principle, requirements, and usefulness, and what is the purpose that we want to have a DC to DC converters. So once you know this, then the next part we will start with the technical details of different types of converters. I will not start with the details in this lecture, but let me go further. That there are actually three different types of DC to DC converters. First one is linear regulator, which only step down the voltage. We'll see that. This is not in the scope of this syllabus, but still I will give you a brief overview. Capacitive converters, known as charge pumps. It's also not part of this course. Inductive DC to DC converters. They are the part of the syllabus. So they actually have flexibility in, as I said, flexibility means dynamic scaling. So dynamic scaling gives us the flexibility that within this range, you can have any decision on the voltage level over here. They are also called switched converters. So after this brief overview on linear regulators, I will finish this lecture over here and then start with the switched converters in the next lecture. So linear regulator. So this is a source, power source, and this is the load, a speaker or anything in the mobile phone, let's say. Gaming can be a load, software load, but software runs on the hardware, which consists of transistors. And if software runs very fast, means all computationally expensive or extensive software is there, then it makes the hardware active. And full load active means all the transistors are working on full load. So load can be anything, pure hardware or software. So in that case, this voltage source of this power source is connected to the load through this transistor, which can be called a switch in power electronics, as I told you in the first few lectures. So now this switch will decide how much voltage should be appeared at this load over here. And this transistor in linear regulator operates in linear mode, which is active mode. You know that we have three modes of operation in transistor: cutoff mode, saturation mode, and the linear mode, which is also known as active mode. So in linear regulator, this transistor works in linear mode, which is simply a resistance, a variable resistance. If you model this linear mode of a transistor, it is equivalent to the variable resistance. And just by looking at this circuit, you can easily say that this is a voltage divider, simple voltage divider. Just by using the formula of voltage divider, we can find out the efficiency, which is V out divided by V in. V out divided by V in, which depends upon these resistances, R1 and R2. And as I told you in first lectures, that resistance is normally avoided. But if a transistor is working in a linear mode, it acts as a resistance. But we should avoid these resistances in the circuit in operation because they actually dissipate power. So dissipation of power means loss. Loss means lowering of the efficiency or decreasing of the efficiency. So depending upon the turn on of this, because base current is applied over here, let's say BJT is there. So we apply the base current over here, the transistor gets turned on. And now it is turned on in linear region. And in linear region, if we draw the load line, that load line will give us the value of resistance. And if we change the base current over here, the collector current will change. It will change the point on the load line, which will change the resistance over here. That's why it is a variable resistance. So it gives the output power V in minus the voltage drop at Rn will be. So it is always having a lower voltage at the output. Never having a step up, only a step down. Step up means higher voltage at the output. Same terminology as you know from transformer terminologies. So in this case, it's only stepping down the voltage at the output. At the same time, lowering down the efficiency because of the losses incurred in R1. So that's why it is unacceptable in power electronics. So this is, I have already explained. In linear region it operates, and just by changing different base current levels, you can change the resistance, but this resistance is substantial to cause the losses, the power losses, which makes this circuit lower in efficiency or inefficient in general. That's why in power electronics, this linear regulator is unacceptable. So this is the jewel of power electronics, DC to DC converter, used everywhere in the world, all the devices, all the applications. So we'll be going through in details of these switched converters in next lecture. Okay, thank you.